An ITV News investigation has found hospital spending on temporary staff has spiralled over the last 5 years. Figures released under the Freedom of Information Act show an 80% increase since 2010. Experts say it's because of serious shortages in staff, particularly nurses. The government thinks it has the answer. It's introducing a cap on agency earnings on Monday. But there are warnings tonight that answer could create a crisis rather than solve it. Luke Hanrahan has his report.
A hospital that struggles to find permanent staff. Here at Watford General, 1 in 5 jobs is currently vacant. A picture reflected in hospitals across London and the South East, leaving trusts with little option but to employ agency staff. Figures we've obtained under the Freedom of Information Act staff has gone up by 81% since 2010. The average trust now spends £43 million a year on filling gaps. And those gaps are large. 13% of jobs in London and the home counties hospitals are unfilled. The trust that spends more than any other is Barts. At one of its hospitals, Whipps Cross, financial problems resulted in poor care. Kenneth Lowe died at Whipps Cross Hospital. His family say there simply weren't enough staff.
He was left so long on his own.
And you put that down to a shortage of staff?
Definitely, yeah, because they were worked off their feet. They really were.
The staff are so good, but...
Yeah. And you couldn't find them because you didn't know who to turn to.
They were literally running around. Yeah. Oh, I've got to go, I've got to go. They were literally running around. Can't fault the staff, but there's just not enough of them.
No.
The Trust has apologised for the poor care that Kenneth Lowe received and has since recruited 500 extra nurses. For many, NHS staff pay doesn't match up to the cost of living in the capital, meaning agency nurses are vital to help cover the shortage.
The money is not enough to sustain living in the capital city. They want to work here, they want to give their best, but they can't afford to do so.
The government thinks it has a solution. From Monday, it's setting a maximum hourly rate for agency nurses, putting a total cap on agency staff spending for NHS trusts in financial trouble, and banning unscrupulous agencies. Could a cap on agency staff spending affect patient care this winter? Some say it will.
I think one of the big risks here is that if you're isn't for want of trying to get permanent staff in through the door. Many organisations have been running recruitment campaigns over multiple years. I think the risk here is that some hospitals won't be able to open beds on their wards because they haven't got enough staff.
The NHS accepts the government's cap will make life more difficult for trusts.
It sets a challenge for people in terms of how they plan their services, but actually the welcome other step that's been taken is that it has been made easier for the NHS to recruit overseas to bring people into more permanently staffed hospital wards in London.
And you're convinced that will fill the gap?
I'm convinced that will make a massive difference, yes.
Would it fill the gap?
I think it's trusts need to work through those plans, and we need to see what the coming weeks and months hold.
On Monday, we'll begin to discover how much more pressure trusts will be under this winter. Luke Hanrahan, ITV News.
Well, I'm joined for some reaction by Charlotte Munro, who works as an occupational therapist at Whipps Cross, the hospital featured in Luke's report. She was sacked in 2013 after raising concerns about care at the hospital. She wasn't reinstated until earlier this year. Charlotte, thank you very much for coming in to talk to me this evening. You've seen your hospital at its worst. How does it compare now?
There are a lot of improvements, and one of the biggest improvements, I think, is that now there's quite a different drive and atmosphere from the top and the leadership of the Trust.
That's made a difference?
Yes, it is making a difference, because people like, I'm also a union rep, and we're having the confidence that, yes, we are being supported from the top to speak out and raise our concerns. It isn't always that straightforward because you still have the pressures on managers, they still have the old culture.